So we are endeavoring to locate Dana White. UFC Fight Night this Saturday features Woodley and Burns, and I'm just genuinely curious about how Dana White's business runs because, as I was mentioning last segment, I mean, I would make the argument that for his business, he has been the best commissioner in the history of sports for the making of money. But Dana joins us now, and again, UFC Fight Night this Saturday features Woodley and Burns. I wanted to talk to you, and thank you for joining us, about the business as you fight with Bones Jones over money and say that we're not going to get that heavyweight fight that we want. And you fight with a lot of your champions about money. So can we talk some money with you, Dana, as we promote this fight?
Sure. Yeah. Money is always an issue in all of sports. The difference is that, when these guys go off and start saying things publicly, we don't go crazy and whatever. They all can, have their opinions and voice them however and whenever they want.
But what do you say to people like me who say your fighters aren't paid enough?
What the hell do you know? That's what I say to you. You don't know anything about the business. Can you yap? You like the yap. You don't know anything about the business, and that's just your style. I just say, this guy doesn't know anything. So
I don't know anything about the business, but I do know that other sports make their pay public. Even boxing does that, and boxing's the dirtiest.
Yeah, well, too bad. I don't. Listen, every fighter that fights for me has the opportunity to go out and say what they make. They can say it publicly. John Jones isn't telling you what he made in his last 4 fights. I bet you wouldn't say that if you knew what he made. You definitely wouldn't say it if you knew what Conor McGregor made. You definitely wouldn't say it if you know what Habib made. And these women, the women that fight for us, are paid just like the men. So listen, if you want to make an uneducated, very uneducated remark like that, then knock yourself out.
But couldn't you educate me by just telling us what the money is?
Because I don't want – it's none of your business. If it was your business and if they wanted people to know, they would say it themselves. It's not like they're locked down on some kind of contractual thing where they can't talk about their money. They can all talk about their money. None of them want to talk about their money publicly because they don't want people knowing what they make.
Why don't the fighters?
That's their prerogative. And all other sports do a lot of things that I don't do. I'm going right now in the middle of the pandemic. I did 3 fights in the last week. Other sports aren't doing that either. I don't do what other sports do. I run my business the way that I want to.
Do you think that you could if there was a union for the fighters in your sport? Do you think you could have been?
That's up to them too. That's not up to me. That's up to them. If the fighters wanted to create a union, that's up to them. They don't want a union. Just like they don't want to talk about their money publicly.
Why don't the fighters want a union? Why don't they have a union?
I have no idea. You'd have to ask them that.
How would you feel about unionization?
Well, listen, personally, I deal with a lot. When we go into venues, I deal with a lot of union guys. Not much gets done when there's a union. But that's just my personal opinion.
How much can you tell?
None of that stuff matters to me, Dan. None of that stuff matters to me. It doesn't matter to me. Listen, I've been 20 years ago, me and the Fertittas bought this business. We've been building it over the last 20 years. After the sale, Ari and those guys wanted me to stay on and continue to run the business. I love this sport. I love what we do. So I'm here, continuing to do what we do. We've made a lot of people rich, made a lot of multi-millionaires. I'm in this public feud with John Jones, like you just mentioned. Where can a guy mess up as much as John Jones has and continue to work and continue to make millions and millions of dollars? Not too many places.
UFC Fight Night this Saturday. It's Woodley and Burns. UFC 250 is June 6th. The ESPN Plus pay-per-view. Dana White does not mind a fight. He is very good as a promoter for his sport. And as I said, commissioners do not make for their businesses the money that he has made for his business out of nowhere, literally in an alley once upon a time signing a contract. Did Cejudo retire because he wasn't paid enough?
Cejudo's been talking about retirement for a while. And, the minute you get and if Cejudo wants to let people know what he made in his last fight, he's more than welcome. I'm giving him an open invitation right now in a weight division that people haven't cared about. Everybody complains about Cejudo. He's the king of cringe and all this other stuff. Ask Cejudo what he made in his last fight. I think you'd be shocked at what he made. But he's not telling people what he made. So it's not about money. This guy, I should rephrase that. It's always about money. But that guy's he doesn't like cutting weight anymore. The guy's been a competitive athlete for most of his life, and now he's made the money. So if you think Cejudo hasn't made any money, he's just going to retire and do what? What's he going to do? Is he going to go get a job at a supermarket? Is he going to go? What's he going to do? The guy has enough money to retire.
UFC Fight Night this Saturday. Again, it's Woodley and Burns. UFC 250 is June 6th on ESPN+. What the hell with Masvidal, man? Like, why can't we watch him fight? Who are you going to put him with?
Oh, we will. You know, we're just coming out of this pandemic right now. A lot of these guys haven't been able to train properly. And what you're starting to see happen right now with my business is you have all these guys who compete, and girls who compete 3 times a year. They've been locked up. They haven't been able to train. Everybody's starting to lose their mind on social media. I got 2 fights coming up, and we are back on schedule, and I can get all these guys work again and you know, get everybody off social media.
Is your Reebok uniform deal coming to an end? Are you gonna make a new deal with a new sponsor?
It is. It comes up. I think it comes up the end of this year, and yeah, we're talking to people now.
Are fighters going to be able to have sponsors in the cage again, or just you guys?
Yeah, the fighters get paid. The fighters get paid for whatever sponsors we have. They get a piece of that, and they can have whatever sponsors they want outside the cage.
Who do you want to see fight, Dana? Like, who do you really want to see fight? The fight you want to put together is blank.
Well, what I'm excited about is I want to see what's going to happen between Justin Gaethje and Khabib. I want to see that fight. I want to see how that plays out, and then I'm excited for Conor to fight the winner.
And that's finalized. Like that's Conor's next fight.
No, that's not guaranteed. But if everything plays out the way that it should, that's what I'd like to see. You asked me what would I like to see. That's what I just told you. What I would like to see. That doesn't mean that's what's going to happen.
How much do you think Bones Jones has caused you? Because I don't understand how you recover from things like this with all the stuff that has happened to sort of nuke some of your pay-per-view fights. Like, how do you put a dollar sign on that? And does that have anything to do with why you're fighting him over dollars where you are?
Yeah, no, you can't. And John Jones is one of the fascinating thing about John Jones. There's many things that are fascinating about John Jones, but I consider John Jones the GOAT. I don't even think it's a debate. I don't even think there's a debate. The guy is the greatest of all time. And regardless of what you think about his last 2 fights, he didn't win the fight, he lost the fight. The 3 people that matter, the judges, gave him the fight in his last 2 fights. And the guy hasn't been beat. He's fought all the best in the world, despite the damage he's done to himself outside of the octagon. You know, and the thing is you look at what he could have been. You know, he could have been the LeBron James of this sport. He could have been the Michael Jordan of this sport, and could have made God knows how much money. That guy could have a Nike deal outside of, you know, and if you look at all the big sponsors that take the big athletes, the LeBrons, the Jordans, you know, the list goes on and on. He could have been that guy. You know, and I think that he's at a point in his career now, he's looking at guys like Conor and Khabib. And he's like, well, why don't I have what these guys have? You know, he doesn't want to accept responsibility for the things that have happened in the past, you know. The guy lost Nike and Gatorade. Those were both 2 of his sponsors. So what could have been is fascinating with John Jones.
How much do you
let me put it to you this way, though, Dan. The guy makes millions of dollars. He's very rich. And when these guys get pissed off and they're not happy about this and that, they have the ability to retire. I mean, realistically, honestly, right now, maybe you could, but could you retire right now and say, you know what, I'd never have to worry about it ever again? You know what I mean?
Well,
not a lot of people are in that position.
What?
My guys can do that.
How much do you think Bones Jones should get paid? Let me pin you down here, Dana. One straight money answer, even though it's not my business, it's your business. How much do you think Bones Jones should be paid for an Ngannou fight in the heavyweight division?
It's John Jones' business. It's his business. If John Jones wants to come out and talk about how much money he's made in his last 4 fights, that's John Jones' business. I got no problem. I would tell you right now on this call how much John Jones made in his last 4 fights, despite being arrested how many times and all the things that have gone on with John Jones. But that's not my business. It's his. And the answer to the question, so when John Jones did this new deal that he's under right now, going up to the heavyweight division was factored in, right? But even if John Jones came back and said, you know what, I know we factored this in, but I want this fight and I really want to do this, can we bump my money up? We would still say yes, but not at the number that John Jones is asking for. That's not going to happen.
UFC.
And John Jones gets a piece of pay-per-view. John Jones is a partner in the pay-per-view. So if he believes that fight with Francis Ngannou is that big, the amount of money he can make is unlimited. It's an unlimited amount of money based on pay-per-view. You know, and guys like Conor McGregor and Khabib and many people before them, the Ronda Rouseys and the really, really big superstars, you know, they know the answer to that question.
UFC Fight Night this Saturday features Tyron Woodley taking on Gilbert Burns, and UFC 250 is June 6th on ESPN Plus pay-per-view. Dana White with us here on ESPN Radio. Dana, I got to tell you, first off, you're doing a fine job. I think you're awesome. Secondly, I'm wondering, the fight I want to see is Dana versus Dan. Have you experienced it the same way, Dana? Has Dan been at an all-time annoyance level today or what? I mean, geez.
He's been annoying since birth. Yeah, this is nothing new with LeBatard. He's been annoying since birth.
I would like to fight you, though. What do you think how do you think that would end up going, you and me? Can we do that for charity? Can we raise a bunch of money for charity?
Absolutely. It ends very badly for you. Very badly. Right. That I promise.
Only because you'd bring that meathead Glazer with you. That's the only reason.
Yeah. You physical specimen. This ends very badly for you.
No, I've got about 80 pounds on you, White. About 80 pounds. And your weight fluctuates like I've seen it. You go from.
It's not a good 80 pounds either.
Okay, but what I'm saying is you are also a weight fluctuator, so I don't know what kind of shape you're in, but what I'm telling you is I'm going to get in shape. Let's raise some money for charity. Quit. Give me a straight answer. Are you and I going to fight for an enormous amount of money?
Hell yes. I'm in. Make it happen. I'm in.
I got Dana.
Thank you, Scott. Immediately going to the other side. Dana, thank you for being on with us. Get out of here.
Pleasure. Bye, guys.